Hi guys. So that's Maya. She's gonna graduate as a junior at MIT, and I think she's one of the most inspiring people at MIT. Honestly, for real. Um, I kind of like don't want to start from what's your SAT score, but I kind of want to like talk to everyone. From people who want to get into MIT to like people at MIT and people like that looking for grad school.
Mhm.
What was your SAT score?
So my SAT score was 1540,
Oh wow.
um, but it was not the highest from my high school at
Yeah.
all. I didn't have the highest GPA at my
Yeah.
high school either. I I think that what I did was I went out and tried to do research in high school sort of
Wow.
independently. And I think that's what got me in because I think at MIT they're sort of moving away from test scores because in general I feel like students can get a tutor
Yeah.
and like just boost their scores even, and that's not like a good representation of who they are. And I emailed a bunch of local university professors. There's a lot of public universities nearby, and I was
Mhm.
like, please, I want to do research with
Yeah.
you. Could I possibly do something? And then I emailed like 20 people. Most of them said no, and then this one guy said yes.
Oh my
And so
god.
it was like, lots of failures and stuff,
Yeah.
but as long as you keep trying, I feel like one person will say yes. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my thing that I did in high school. My dad is a physicist. He had
Oh
a
god.
PhD in physics, and so I kind of always loved that. And
Mhm.
so thanks to my dad, I knew that the end goal was doing research. And
Mhm.
so I kind of thought that starting that in high school would also give me an idea of whether or not I like to do that.
Yeah.
And so, since I enjoyed it in high school, I decided that this was a good thing for my college applications, but also it's something that I can continue doing in college.
Nice. And did you enjoy the research?
I did. So,
Okay.
I do astrophysics,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of coding, like way more coding than I
Yeah. I
thought. And
remember we talked
I
about
had
it.
no experience in that at all. But with each project I do, you sort of just pick up what you need to know.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take any like intense computer science classes or anything like that. It's pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah.
And so I don't enjoy the coding part as much, but I like the end goal of studying our universe. I think that's really
Yeah.
fascinating. And so even when I'm working on a project that's sort of like annoying to figure out like what code to write or like what figures to make, like just keeping in mind what the project is about is enough to keep me motivated and
Yeah.
excited about it.
And like how did you decide to finish in 3 years? Because it's not that common at MIT. I feel like people also explore a lot, but I feel like you came in with such like you came goal oriented.
So I was going to major in physics and minor in math.
Mm-hmm.
And then after taking a few math classes, I was like, never mind, I'm not going to minor in math. But so I sort of front loaded my schedule a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I sort of took the harder version of the intro physics classes, and then I
Right.
was immediately in a circle where like all the kids were geniuses.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so to me, that was what everyone was doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so because of that, I sort of tried to take all the classes that all the like really advanced kids were doing.
Yeah.
So I took like 3 or 4 physics classes each semester.
Wow.
And
That's a lot.
yeah, it wasn't that fun sometimes. But I thought that was normal. And then a lot of those kids aren't graduating early because they're just staying and taking more advanced grad classes and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And in physics in particular, I think there's fewer course requirements than a lot of them. So it's sort of
Mm-hmm.
more realistic to finish
Yeah.
early.
You did a flex version.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. So
so
I also was going to do focused, which is why I
oh
took a lot of classes. So
yeah.
for like focused, you have to take like extra lab classes and like
Yeah.
way more advanced quantum mechanics and things like that.
And I think it's interesting. I didn't think about it before, but usually they say to go to grad school, you need to do the focused version.
Mhm.
But here is my admitted to Stanford PhD. So yeah, like, what do you think about like all the things that they say when you get into MIT? You know what I mean?
I I sort of the classes are as intense as people always say,
Yeah.
but I don't think that I have this like stifling like extreme academic experience that a lot of people have.
Hmm.
I guess it's also probably because I took care to make friends outside of physics, and
Yeah.
I don't want that to be my entire life.
Mhm.
So I love doing research. I love hanging out with all my physics friends, but I like to have fun too.
Yeah.
and and I feel like at MIT, a lot of people are able to find that balance pretty
Yeah.
well. It's just about sort of going out of your own little bubble and meeting new people. And I also thought it was going to be very competitive.
Yeah.
And the first thing is that in my experience, it's not that competitive.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit stressful to compare yourself to other people, but just day to day in terms of classes, like there nothing is graded on a curve, so students aren't like
Right.
sort of trying to gatekeep information and be better than other people.
Yeah.
It's very, very collaborative, and that's sort of what has helped me through the majority of my classes. And and people sort of here know that there's enough to go around for everyone, so one person's success doesn't take away from yours.
Yeah.
And so I personally compare myself to other people a lot, and I did that a
Yeah,
lot
me
in high
too.
school. And it sucks, but I sort of have been learning to not do that here, which
Yeah.
is a pretty good thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I've done like 3 big projects,
Mhm.
and the amount of like support that they've given me was way more than I thought. Especially, so I wrote a paper about exoplanets last year, and I worked with my mentor for about a year,
Mhm.
and she walked me through each step so clearly, and
Each step of writing the
like
paper.
of doing the research,
Mhm.
what the end goal was, why we're doing this.
Mhm.
And I know that there's a lot of mentors out there who kind of just give you an impossible task and
Yeah.
you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
Or they're not there to
they're not there
support.
yet.
Yeah.
And she would meet with me twice a week, check on my progress.
That's
I would ask
amazing.
her questions. I wouldn't be afraid to ask her questions. And she's a postdoc here actually, so she's like
Mhm.
not even a professor. And
Yeah.
like she would go out of her way to help me so much.
Mhm.
And if I think if I would have been left on my own to try to write a paper, I wouldn't have had a paper written, and I don't
Yeah.
think I would be going to grad school right now.
Yeah. How many research do you do? Sorry.
I've always done astrophysics research.
Mhm.
I started my freshman year. I worked with a professor. We were looking for galaxy clusters, which is like these huge groups of galaxies that orbit around a massive black hole.
Mhm.
And then through that, I worked for his colleague at Nottingham University,
Mhm.
and we got a paper out of that project, which she put my name on, which was great. As that project was wrapping up, I started doing this exoplanet work, which I like that project the most because I see like a really big value in this area of research right now. And it was my only first author paper so far, which was, I feel like, a really big accomplishment.
So what's your big dream about like this like field of research?
So I I really like to be motivated by big questions.
Mhm.
So I was really interested in biology for a little bit
Mhm.
because sort of the question of what is life and how did we get here is really interesting to me. But then astrophysics and cosmology I like because it sort of works to answer the question, where did we come from and like what is everything? And so I'm not directly figuring out what the Big Bang was, but sort of contributing to these existential questions. Exoplanets are interesting because right now we're trying to find evidence of life on other planets, which the probability of us being here right now is so low, it should be impossible.
Yeah.
And so finding life somewhere else would kind of like contribute to our knowledge of this.
Yeah.
Um,
It's fascinating.
yeah, so I like these sort of deep questions that when, like I said, I'm sort of just struggling with a particular project, I can sit back and think, okay, but I'm doing this for a reason.
Yeah.
I was also admitted to UF,
Yeah.
like University of Florida, and I would have gotten a full scholarship there. And I genuinely debated that for a really, really long time. And in hindsight, I still wonder
Really?
because,
Even now after you.
yes, because if you are on the grad school track, it really doesn't matter where you go to undergrad. When I went on all my grad school visits, the majority, like at U Chicago, Stanford, like the admitted students at Princeton, they like came from state schools mostly. And it's basically these really motivated students who have done what they can with the opportunities that their school has,
Yeah.
and they're able to go to an excellent school for grad school. What my question is sort of like, would I have done that if I had gone to UF? Like, would I have known that this is important? Because I knew that research was important because
Yeah.
I was at MIT and that's all everyone talks about.
But you did it also before.
I did. So that's why I'm like, I think I might have been able to figure it out, but I'm not sure. And so, and I also like sometimes wonder what a normal college experience is like, because like although you have fun here, most of the time you're up super late finishing all these assignments. It does shake your self-confidence a lot. And then, like I go on Snapchat and see all my friends from high school who are like going out on like Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I'm like, this looks so fun, and it looks like they're never even doing classes. And that's sort of the normal college experience. They go to football games, like there's a lot going on. And what I wonder is sort of, is that experience like worth the trade off of this? And so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think if you're doing research and you're aware of what you need to do to get where you want to be, I think it does not matter where you go to undergrad. Um, but for me, I think I needed the discipline and the built-in research opportunities that MIT had. So I think that this was the right thing for me, but I still wonder what a normal college experience is like.
I think it's super interesting to go out of MIT sometimes, like internships and stuff like that, and just see like different environments.
Yeah, like my best friend from high school goes to USC, which is also a great school, but it's not MIT. Like they were partying literally every single day. And after 2 weeks, I was like, how do you have the energy to do this? And but it was fun and it was really, really, really different. So it was interesting to see that.
Is there anything you wish you knew before you came here? I feel like you were pretty prepared.
I think I was lucky enough to be pretty prepared. I guess like okay, in physics, there are some classes that you can literally get a 40% on an exam, and that's like slightly below or at average. But so then when I took, so your freshman year, you like everything is pass or no record, or your freshman first semester. And so doing that, I took this chem class that I was getting like below 50 on every single exam. But then I did what I needed to pass the class. So I got like a C by like a couple of points, which was great. But I guess like changing my standards. Like I am not getting high 90s on tests anymore.
But like overall, you probably have a good GPA.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just like the different sort of standard.
What do you think about Greek life?
It's great, and I'm very happy that I did it. Um, it's a little bit exhausting sometimes. Like sometimes I just need alone time, and then there's people all around you always, but that's okay because it's like a lot of support. My idea of Greek life was like U Miami or like UF and like crazy, crazy stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not doing that. But then I sort of realized that here it was pretty different.
Yeah, I feel like you're just like a little community.
Yeah, it's way more chill, and then it sort of gives you like an automatic way into social life.
Right.
Like I don't know how I would know about like parties and stuff if I wasn't in Greek life, which it's not all about that, but that's also sort of an important thing to like sort of de-stress sometimes on like Fridays and Saturdays.
I feel like it gives you a lot, but I just like sometimes wish it didn't exist at all. I think that there are people here that are only like within their sorority or fraternity.
It does build a bubble. It does. And also I think like AFI especially, like people like there's sort of this like stereotype that you're like not that smart, and that's definitely there in physics. Like I wore an AFI shirt one time into the physics lounge, and this kid was like, wait, you're in a sorority? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, oh. Really? But it's not that bad. I also don't like how sort of exclusive it is. Like there's only 7 sororities here, and then they get like 20-25 girls a year. And then there's so many people who don't even rush because they already have a preconception of what it's like, and then if they do, there's no spots for them. And so I wish there were more, and I wish they were more sort of diverse in like the way they function.
And what do you think about love life here?
Love life?
Yeah.
It's interesting. The boys here are very interesting. I have a boyfriend whom I love very much, very much. But before him, from what I hear from my friends and just what I see, I feel like guys here are so egotistical in general. Like I don't want to sound bad. Like they're sort of just they want to get ahead in life. Like they think they're smarter than you, and it's sort of hard to find like a normal person. Um,
It's so hard to
yeah,
find.
it's hard. I was lucky enough. So my boyfriend, I met him in a lab class that we had together, and then yeah, and he ended up dropping the class. But then we kept talking and stuff, and then we started dating. And he's also a junior in physics. We applied to grad school together, and we applied so many places, and we were just like praying that we get into like one common place. And then we both ended up getting into Stanford. And this was like so crazy. I have no idea how that even happened. He's so smart. He's genuinely one of the smartest people, if not the smartest person I've met at this school.
Did you get to any other places for PhD?
So I got into Berkeley, Chicago. The places I was considering are Berkeley and Chicago, Cornell, Johns Hopkins, and I'm currently on the Princeton waitlist. So this is something that I messed up. So our grade can PNR like four classes, and I was like I got a few B's in like Haas classes, and this was like sophomore year, and I just like PNR'd them. And then I was like wasting all my PNRs on those, and then I started taking actually like way harder classes, and I was like, why did I do that? So that was like really, really stupid. So don't do that. Has classes don't matter.
Okay. So how do you chose Stanford?
I went on college visits, and first of all, Stanford pays the best, and they also have grad housing on campus. So, like by comparison, Berkeley, they pay a similar amount, but you're expected to find housing like in a nearby city in like San Francisco or Oakland. So then that's really expensive, and then you have to commute there every day. Um, and that just seemed like a lot. Stanford, your employers are also providing you with housing, so it's like a very reasonable price. I really like California in general. It's so beautiful, and I'm convinced after being here that I have seasonal depression. And I'm ready. Like, I could not be in Chicago or like Ithaca. So, I kind of I want to like loosen up a little bit. Like, obviously, getting a PhD is hard, but you don't take that many classes anymore, and you're just doing the research that you like. And I sort of want to do that in a place that I'll be happy. And I also considered how hard like it was to actually be a candidate for a PhD. So, for example, at Berkeley, you have to take 10 classes. You have to teach. You have to take a bunch of like 3 hour long qualifying exams, and it's just like pretty stressful. And I'm done with like doing problem sets and taking exams. Like I'm over it. Versus at Stanford, you have to take like four classes, you have to teach a little bit, and then your qualifying exam is you have to read a paper in a different branch of physics and then do a Blackboard presentation on it. And that's it. And then you're a candidate to have your PhD. So that was sort of like, I was like, why would I jump through so many more hoops when I don't have to?
Okay. Do you have any advice for people who apply to PhD?
Do research in undergrad. The things that matter the most are your rec letters. So you get 3 rec letters from professors. They're preferably from people who know what kind of research you do. Try to get some sort of publication with your name on it, even if it's not first author. Just get a paper done. And grades are very secondary. That was my like biggest relief, honestly, because based on grades, like I'm probably one of on the lower end for physics. And I thought that was like automatically going to bar me from getting into the better schools. But, as long as you're not failing classes, it really doesn't matter that much because like people are it's basically like hiring you to do research for them. So they don't really care at all like how well you can do on an exam if you can't like work in their lab or, be productive and publish and do stuff for them because they're paying you to go there. So I think there's this huge misconception that I had is like you have to have like the highest, like I thought it was like undergrad admissions, and it's not at all.
And last question, like how does it feel to be a woman at MIT?
Feels great. It's I honestly like it a lot. I don't in physics there's a pretty solid gender skew in terms of there's a lot of guys,
Yeah.
but that's not great.
Right. I feel
Personally,
like
it
in physics you feel it like the most. Sorry for
yeah.
stopping you.
No, it's
But I think in
fine.
MIT in general it's like pretty like equal.
I think it's 50-50, and then like
Yeah.
there's certain majors where it's like more girls. In physics in particular, I think it's more guys.
Yeah.
That sort of hasn't affected me that much. Like
Mhm.
I personally wish that more women would want to do it.
Mhm.
I think uh, it's just like sort of like being good at physics is a very like masculine culture. Like
Yeah.
people try to just get things quickly and like just be right, and it's it can be exclusive. And like I've had people like dudes just like explaining like things rapidly at me in like classes they've already taken, and you know
Yeah.
like someone explained to me like they were like a squared plus b squared is c squared. I'm like, dude, I know that. That's
Yeah.
not what I was asking.
So good.
So it's like it can be a little bit like frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's never really been an obstacle for me, but I
Mhm.
can see why, like, after taking a few classes, people would be like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people who come in here intending on majoring in physics, and then by sophomore
Yeah.
year, they're like, actually, never mind, I'm not doing this.
What would you tell them if that's like one of the reasons that they don't do it?
Like, I think in practice, it doesn't stop you from
Mhm.
accomplishing anything, but I do understand that it can like shake your confidence and make you question what you love. If you do love physics, you
Right.
shouldn't let things like that stop you. But if you're not that passionate about it and you don't like the environment that it is, like absolutely feel free to do something else.
Yeah.
Like it's not about forcing people to like or women, I guess, into staying in a major. It's more important to find what you're actually passionate about. If
Mhm.
you truly lose sight of what you love, then you should
Yeah.
figure out what you want first and foremost and go do that. Because at the end of the day, you're getting a degree from MIT,
Yeah.
right? Like you can major in anything and be successful, I think.
Yeah.
So it's sort of not burning yourself out and finding what you love, I think.
Amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.